Hi, everyone. So excited to be here today. I'm here every day, 11 a.m. Eastern. It's the Hour of Empower live stream on YouTube as well as this. The word of the day is connection. The guest of the day is Rhonda Sher, who's just an amazing individual. I've had the opportunity to talk and get to know Rhonda. Does some amazing things, a LinkedIn expert. So I think that's going to be a huge benefit to all that one can do. So with that, let me just introduce Rhonda real quick, and she can give a little context, and we'll go to comments. Thank you very much. Rhonda.
Oh, you were going to introduce me, I thought. You want me to introduce myself?
Yeah, share a little bit about yourself.
Oh, sorry. You just said, let me introduce Rhonda. I'm happy to. So I'm actually in Carlsbad, San Diego area. And, I didn't start out, Dawn, to be a LinkedIn expert. I always thought I wanted to be a lawyer because I argued so much when I was a kid. And my first career was actually as a paralegal, believe it or not. I was a paralegal and a divorce mediator. And what I found was that I was really meant to be an entrepreneur, like you, it was like I didn't really like having a boss. And so I wrote a book on networking, believe it or not, in 2007 called The 2-Minute Networker with one of I think you've had Bob Berg on here, haven't you?
Yeah, just a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, Bob and I go way back, and Bob wrote the foreword on my book back then, and it turned out we got to know each other, and my dad and his dad went to school together, and we actually did an event together in San Diego many years ago. So when LinkedIn came out, what I realized was there really wasn't a female face to LinkedIn, and there was to Facebook. That was Mari Smith. So I thought, well, it's just as logical as, doing what I was doing as a paralegal. So I learned it, and then I wrote a book on it. And the book was in 2009, believe it or not. It was called The ABCs of LinkedIn, Get LinkedIn or Get Left Out. And I self-published it. And that was kind of how I started on that journey. And here's the cool backstory, actually. I don't know if people know this, but I had been married for 28 years. And when I first got married back in 1980, my husband said to me, I have one request. And I said, oh, what's that? He said, please don't make more money than me. Now, I have two daughters who are almost 32 and 34. And if anybody said that to them, I would say, run, don't walk. But in those days, it was a little different. So after 28 years, Bob and I amicably got divorced. But at the same time, what happened was my mom passed away. We short sailed our house. I had a cancer scare. The kids were empty nesting. And I thought, oh my gosh, nobody's hiring speakers, which is what I was doing. I'm going to be one of those, you're going to see me, I'm going to be one of those supermarket greeters. That's going to be me, right? Mm-hmm. And I remembered that I had a superpower. I knew how to use LinkedIn. I've been doing it. And so I thought, well, how could I use it to make money? I needed to make money. So I went out and got my life insurance license. And I went out and I said, well, who has my clients? And I knew it was the people with mortgages that were selling mortgages. So within 6 weeks, I reached out to them and I was making $6,000 a month. Within a year, I was doing 6 figures, but I figured out two things. Number one, I didn't really love selling life insurance. And number two, I created a system, right, of how to use LinkedIn. And so fast forward in 2016, I remarried my ex-husband. But when we got married the second time, he said, I have one request. I said, what's that? He says, please make more money than me. And believe it or not, okay, 3 years ago, this month, I retired him from his big corporate job. And now it's been 7 years that we've been remarried. And I like to say I have a husband, didn't have to change my name. The kids are ours. And what I gave birth to is really what I call the Sher method, right? So that's kind of the backstory of how I came to do what I do. And I love it. It's so much fun. And I get to wake up every day to my best friend that I met when I was like 15 years old, that I got a second chance to marry. So life is good. And I'm so happy to be here with you and be able to, share that. teach people about second chances and connections?
Well, I think that's so powerful and so important, is to look at things on a longer term. It's harder to look ahead than it is to look back, right? And some things take a certain amount of time and space and situation for them to really mature. And LinkedIn's the same way. As you're planting seeds, you're cultivating. Some things grow better, faster than others, but everything in its own good time. So I think that's so important. And I think what's really important, I've been doing this full time for 4 years, is best practices, right? There's a lot of people that can get motivated and excited, and they see the vision and the dream, and they know people are achieving it, but they're taking in legacy ways of doing things that don't apply. I saw a LinkedIn book the other day that says if this is more than 2 years old, half of what I taught you doesn't mean anything anymore, right? And it's
Yeah,
so dynamic and changing that having really people who are experts in their field, who can really shorten the learning curve, accelerate your success rate, and really the key is giving you some low-hanging fruit so you can taste some victory. You don't have to wait forever. So with that, let me really move to our guests. I mean, our audience. Tanya's here. Tanya's going to be on the show. She's out in South Africa. She builds sales funnels. I think it's going to be a great show. Carrie's here. Carrie's here with his jokes every day. Great to see you, Carrie. Christine, who's just a wonderful do everything person, corporate job, mother, you name it, she's got it going. So always great to see you, Christine. Oh, Lanisha's here. It took me a while to learn her name. Had a great call. She's coming on the show. She's done 5 keynote speeches this year and really on her way. So she sees the opportunity in LinkedIn and in community. Hello, everyone. Great to meet you. Haven't seen you, Iya. Hope I pronounced it well. Welcome to the show. Dennis, who's out here in Denver, 48 years in heating and air conditioning. You booked it. You look so young after 28 years of marriage and different careers. Cheers. And you listen to your, thanks for sharing and carrying your wisdom on connection and reconnecting. That's so sweet, Dennis. And, that's what the show is all about, because without the audience, there is no show. And without the audience, there's nothing but me talking to Rhonda and Rhonda talking to me. So you make the show what it is. And the idea is to get value for the time spent here, network, connect, meet, talk afterwards to align people, and really use this as a platform for your voice. I bring everybody on the screen. You don't want to be LinkedIn's best kept secret or in the witness protection plan. So, the idea is to get out and do and be, and you don't know what you don't know. And when you ask, you find a little bit out. Right. So
absolutely. And by the way, Dennis, thank you. But it's actually 43 years of marriage with 6 off for good behavior, because we were apart for 6. So thank you. But yeah, you're absolutely right. And John, you're a perfect example, because how many days in a row have you done this LinkedIn Live?
About 400.
Okay. Never missed a day, right?
One day, I actually took off 3 weeks ago. My grandkids had a soccer game. And I promised them I'd go to a game, and it was all worth it. So, the idea is not to compete too much with yourself, but, I think it's just the opposite. Take one day at a time, 1 hour at a time, and don't worry about what comes next until you did what comes first, right?
Yep, absolutely. And I'm in awe of the fact that you've done this, starting from nothing. And now you're actually teaching other people how to do it. I mean, taking what you've learned, all the mistakes, all the wins, and actually helping other people that want to do LinkedIn Live know how to do it. I mean, that to me is what you really call a mentor, right? Somebody that's done it and then goes out and pays it forward by offering to teach other people and promotes other people. And I think that's one of the biggest things about connection. I love promoting other people. It's so much fun. It's kind of like, I've heard this before, giving is better than receiving, right? And I love giving, right? It's just more fun to give a gift and watch somebody's face when you give them the gift than it is to receive it, you
Mm-hmm.
know? And if you think about LinkedIn for a second, okay, here's an amazing strategy. How many people now, after so many days, get value from you? You know, they get up super early in the morning if they're like me on the West Coast, and they jump on and they listen because they know you bring on great guests, you bring on such good wisdom. What if people just gave you a recommendation on LinkedIn, right? Like that would be a way of giving, a way of connecting. And what happens is when you get a connection that you or a recommendation that you didn't ask for, it's like walking out of your car and finding a $20 bill or driving through Starbucks, giving them your card to pay, and they go, "Oh, no, 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 don't worry, it's been covered by the car in front of you." So what do? You pay for the car in back of you, right? You just pay it forward. You're like, "Wait, somebody just paid for my coffee?" Okay, well, you know, I just pay for the guy in back of me, just pay for his coffee. So you're kind of creating this. Well, I gave a talk the other day, and it was for a big group, and it was on the topic of something I know absolutely nothing about, cannabis. Okay, it's just not something that I know about, but I did all my research and I gave the talk. And what I said was, hey, if you guys got value today, your leader of this group was the person that invited me to speak. Write a recommendation for him on LinkedIn. Tell him you really appreciate that he's doing this work, leading this group. He's not paid for it. And, you know, just write a recommendation because it's people are going to go and see, they may want to join his group. They may want to look more at his profile, right? Well, after I said that, I got 2 recommendations. I didn't ask for it. I got 2 recommendations that said, you know, I've been to many, many people hearing about what you talk about, and this was the best one ever. And I'll tell you, that was better than somebody handing me $100 bill and saying, here, just go have some fun, right? So if you're out there and you're listening to this amazing hour of power with Dawn, right, and you're getting value, why not pay it forward, connect with them on LinkedIn, and then write them a recommendation and just tell them what you got out of the show.
Well, you know, I think you're so insightful because so many people lack awareness, not intention, right? They're just not
Yes,
aware of this goes with this adds to this, because everything is a building block if you use it well.
correct.
Right? Every connection is somebody that knows somebody, someone who knows something. And once you get to know them, you know, they're also a channel for their network. And the idea here is synergies, is collective behavior, collaborative behavior, because I know one thing, everybody who's doing great out there would rather be doing great at home, right?
Yeah.
And the key is how many people, relevant people, not crowds, that you can have an hour of committed, directed time that show up every day. So, Rhonda, if you're walking by your dining room and says in the next room there's 50 people waiting there to hear what you have to think or say today, could you step in and spend an hour with them and go back to your regular world? Because what I saw about LinkedIn Live and live streaming, the way we do it here, there is no production, there's no preparation, there's no homework. You hit the button just like the audience and you leave just like the audience. And because of that, it's easy enough to do 400 days in a row. If it was stressful or work or invaded other important areas, it would be too expensive. So what I've learned is how to repurpose, how to allow things to have their own lifespan. You know, I've been doing the same post for 7 months, and my numbers, I'm up 3,000% over a year ago on impressions. I'm up to 1 million a year.
And that's consistency, which is true, you know, and I love that about, you know, here's an interesting thing about posting. The last statistic I read is, and we're at about 960 million members on LinkedIn. That's a lot of people, right? less than 4% of them are posting. Less than 4%. So imagine if you not only posted, but you comment on other people's posts. Because you can't walk into a bank that you don't have any money in and say, excuse me, I'd like to withdraw $5,000. When they look at you and they go, you don't have an account here. You can't withdraw. You have to make a deposit. Well, why would you expect that people are going to comment on your posts if you're not commenting on other people's posts? And that, I think, is one of the things that, we talk about the word of the day being connection. If you're taking the time to write something on LinkedIn, you're giving value, why not go to those posts and comment on those people that are writing it and just, say what you got from it, a takeaway, or thank you, or I learned something, or whatever that happens to be. And there's some cool AI tools out there that you can use that actually LinkedIn allows to be able to use it. But the thing is that one simple practice, just make a list of 5 people that are in your world or you want in your world that are posting, and comment on their posts. I guarantee that if you do that consistently enough, just like your LinkedIn lives have a rolling stone effect, more and more people are watching and engaging, those people are going to look at your profile. So as I call it, make sure that you're not in the LinkedIn Witness Protection Program, right? Make sure your profile positions you as the go-to expert. People know who you are and what you do, right? So if you love this, go write a recommendation for Dawn. If you're getting value and you're getting up, do that. And I know you didn't even tell me to do that or ask me to do that, but I think it's important that sometimes we just don't think about it.
Well, I think that, what you're saying is so important, because how do you build any relationships, right? You have to introduce yourself or be introduced. You have to have
Right.
your first impression or conversation. And then based on that, you qualify the person and say, well, I'd like to learn more, or I think this person could fit in some of my opportunities, right? It's the same thing here. And, to take it one step further, that's what I profess too, is everybody has a bell next on their profile, right? So you don't have to comb through your feed. If you identify 5 or 10 that you say, for this month, I'll make the best comment of the day on their comments, because everybody sees everybody's comments, right? And most of them like, hey, great job, 3, 4 words. Those extra 2 lines that say I really read it or watched it or appreciate it, and here's why. Because ultimately, to what we're saying here and what Rhonda's pointing out, is people out of gratitude or guilt will have to thank you, right? They'll have to appreciate you, or they'll know you'll go away, because everything's reciprocal. But here's the beauty. If before doing this for a couple weeks or whatever you feel is necessary, instead of reaching up and say, hey, can we have a call? And I see your profile and I think we could blah, blah, blah. Your colleagues at that point, right? At that point, it's like, hey, we've been really getting into this content of yours. Hey, let's have a call. I got some more questions. And then the person's honored, and you really justified their time because of past performance. So I think, it's all about being aware, like I do with the inbound, outbound. Everybody I work with is someone who just looked at my profile, made a connection, made a comment, came on the show. I got to tell a funny story, and I'll go to people really quick. Christine told that same story about being in Starbucks, and she said, okay, I'll take care of the car behind me. And then the lady at the cashier said, well, they ordered $24 worth of stuff, And Christine said, well, that's okay, because it was, it was something I intended to do. But, it's just kind of funny. Anyways, Christine says, I'm a guest speaker at a college association in a week or so. Again, we'd love to connect with Rhonda on that topic. And this is what it's for, this is a preview. This is a appetizer to what could be. Waves, Don and Rhonda, so glad to be able to make it. Beverly's been here every Tuesday as a host for about 6 months. She's in Montreal. She's a therapist and a coach. She's got a great podcast. just knocking it out of the park. So always great to see you, Beverly. Whoever I bring with Beverly always does better. Christine is what a great reason to take off, Don, for sure. Let me go to Dennis. Agree, take one day at a time and make time for an important rhyme. Dennis, I don't know where you get it. Agree, you're insightful and inspirational. Thanks for still sharing and caring. And you're well dressed in green. The saying is, if you're green, you're growing. If you're ripe, you're rotting. We all need to keep learning. Thanks. You know, and that's what it's so important. Everybody chimes in. Everybody has a value. It's a picnic. Yes, Rhonda, that's such good advice. LinkedIn was not my platform, but I returned in January and found it to be an excellent platform to build connection. Don's community provides a wonderful opportunity to connect with others. And, you know, I think that's the hardest thing to find, but one of the most cherished opportunities is a safe place.
You know, it's true. And, you know, it's interesting because Beverly actually reached out to me and I was, you know, just so touched too, you know, that people were proactive. And one of the things that I really believe is important is, you know, we all make connections with people, right? We send out connection requests, people accept, and then it just kind of dies there. But what if you went through your list of connections and you actually sent a video, okay? And the video says something like, hey, Dawn, notice that you've been liking my posts lately and even commenting. We've been connected for a while and, you know, we've never really had a conversation one-on-one. If you're up for it, I'd love to jump on a call. I know of a few resources that you might want to know about. I promise we'll keep the call in the no sale zone, not selling anything, but let me drop my link and I look forward to jumping on a Zoom with you. Well, the first thing that you would probably do is look at my profile and say, oh, okay, she's legit. And then you'll go to my calendar link and you'll book. And we'll have a really great 30-minute call. And at the end of that call, what I'm going to say to you is, hey, Dawn, I've got 32,000 plus followers. Is there anybody I can introduce you to? Are there any resources that you need? Right? And you're going to tell me. And then typically what happens is you'll say, well, Rhonda, what can I do for you? And I always have the same answer. Do you know of any groups that need a speaker that want to learn how to have an unfair advantage with LinkedIn? I'd love to be able to share some tips and hacks, you know, and knowledge with them. But again, if you did that just once a day, that's 20 conversations a month. That's incredible. And you do the video, Christine, actually from your phone. And when I do it, okay, I just do it like I am. You know, it's kind of like I don't make sure it's perfect. I don't, and the reason that I do it that way is because it's me. And what people love on LinkedIn is authenticity.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I shared the story of marrying the same guy twice on LinkedIn because I have 2 anniversaries. And October 12th is actually the first anniversary when I got married in 1980. So I showed 2 photos. Okay. One was of me as this very skinny brunette married to a skinny brunette in 1980. And then I showed the picture in 2016 when he was gray and I was blonde. And, but the post was about second chances. It wasn't about, you know, marrying the same guy twice. And it got a tremendous amount of views and interaction. And the reason was because it was authenticity. And it was really just getting people to relate. So those are, you know, I think a lot of the things that people forget. You know, everybody's posting about their successes or they're posting education, but people want to get to know you. You know, that's really what it is. So when you become authentic, I have a client actually who's a commercial real estate broker in the tenant space. And he was really reluctant, you know, to post at all. Mm-hmm. And so he started to post and he started to get some traction. And I said to him, I go, well, tell me something cool that's going on in your life. And he said, well, I'm going to be turning 50 this year and I'm going to get my pilot's license. So he took a picture next to a Cessna plane and he said, hey, LinkedIn community, hold me accountable. I'm going to get my pilot's license by the time I'm 50. And he got so much interaction with that post that he kind of continued it. And, you know, we don't think that that's something that should be on LinkedIn. That's kind of like a Facebook thing or maybe Instagram. But the truth is we're doing business with each other and we want to be able to relate to each other, right? How many people have asked you about your hat? Like when they come on?
I get I get people now are wearing hats to, because you know what? Everything is a brand, if you do it right, especially on LinkedIn.
Yep.
And people need to distinguish and differentiate yourself from the crowd, because that's where most people start and that's where most people end, is posting, commenting, liking, connecting. It's all planting, cultivating, but no harvest, just more connections, more conversations. I loved your point about the video, but here's the thing: the more you can layer something up, right? Add more and more at the beginning, because that's first impression. So by having a live stream, I did exactly what you did. I said, well, hey, now where am I? Who is really most relevant to what we're doing here? And I thought podcasters. So I went to my 37,000 and I sliced and diced and came up with 352 of them who fit the categories I needed to identify. And from there, I went one by one and identified 50, because the search gives you something, you have to verify every person, because towards the end of the search, it's everybody and anybody. So I ended up with 50. But I was able to say, it looks like you'd be greatly aligned with this show. And here's my last speakers. And that's how Bob Burr got on, right? That's how yesterday Kathleen got on. And what you find is people are looking for opportunity. That's what they're here for. What opportunity do you present? And instead of saying, let's talk, hey, you want to be on a show, right?
I love that. One of my clients is an NLP trainer. In fact, I got certified with her. Her name is Stacey O'Byrne. And one of the things that Stacey always says is, make your ask, ASK, bigger than your butt, right? And I often, have noticed that it's hard for people to ask for help. It's just not our nature. We kind of talked in the beginning that people are more givers than takers. But I think the thing that's important is that it's to tell people it's okay to ask for help. And recently, I was so honored, because I was honored to get nominated for 2 awards. Like, I thought, wow, this is like so cool. One of them was with Forbes Riley. It's an award called the Excellies, and I was nominated for leadership. And I thought, oh my gosh, this is way out of my comfort zone to go ask for people to vote for me, right? Like, and then I was nominated by NABO, the San Diego chapter, for tech. So I thought, okay, I'm going to go out of my comfort zone, and I'm an extrovert, and this was still hard for me. And I started to ask people to vote for me, and they went, sure, absolutely, I would love to. And what I realized was, Dawn, this is kind of interesting. So my younger daughter works for the Crohn's and Colitis Foundation, and it's a charity or an organization that's very near and dear to us, because she has Crohn's disease. And she was doing a very big fundraiser. And so she did what all millennials do, or most millennials do. She went to mom and dad and she said, hey guys, I really need your help. You know a lot of people. Can you help me raise money for, the race for Crohn's? And I was like, sure. And what I did was I reached out to my network and I said, hey, the 4 words that I teach my clients, right? I need your help. My daughter is, working with Crohn's and colitis. She actually has Crohn's disease, and she's raising money for the Race for the Cure. If you would donate just a minimal amount, in exchange as my thank you, let me give you one of my courses that I had done. And, these were courses that I was selling all year long, right? I raised about $2,000 for Crohn's and colitis. And it didn't even faze me to go out and ask, right? Because I was not asking for me. I was asking to benefit a cause that I really believe in, that my daughter's job required her to do. But when it came to me getting nominated, it was hard for me to ask for the votes. Isn't that silly, right? Just
Well, not really, because I think when you're asking, you're also providing an opportunity for someone to help you in a way they're happy to help. Now, it is all about how you ask, right? If you're pushy or you know, it's intimidating and it ruins any trust you might have. But if it's more like, hey, I just want to keep you up to date, what's going on, right? I mean, just like when
yeah, and and let people know how important it is for you. I once learned that the word because is a really powerful word. And imagine you're in line in a grocery store or drugstore and you're late to pick up your kids or you're late for something and you just ran in for one item and the person in front of you has a basket from here to here, right? And you just want to jump in front of them because you don't want to be late for your kids. If you said to the person in front of you, would you mind if I cut in front because I only have one item? They would kind of look at you like, eh. But what if you said, I really could use your help. Would you mind if I jumped in front of you because I've got my kids waiting in the car and I'm late and I just have one item? It would really mean the world to me if you would let me get in front of you because you know what the chances are of them saying no? Almost slim to none, right? Because you gave them the reason. So it's really all about the context, right?
well, for sure, because I even mentioned that the other day when people say thank you for what? Right? Thank you for being so courteous. You leave a plane. Thank you for making it such a wonderful flight. It was so comfortable. I mean, that extra sentence now gives that person some validation or confirmation or appreciation from somebody that most of the time doesn't even say thank you. So that's how you really distinguish yourself, is go the extra mile when most people aren't going the first mile, and be the pleasant, person that people want to spend time with. And here's one other key that most people again aren't aware of is access. When you're with someone, you're not just with their knowledge and their experience, you're with their network, right? And if you qualify or they think a lot of you, they're going to make sure other people who are like them get to know you. And that's a key. So, too many people are transactional, they're short term, they major in the minors, they keep score all the time, and no one's winning doing any of that. But if you have a sense of belief and confidence in your vision, what I knew when I started this is I knew how big this opportunity was, because to dovetail off of what Rhonda said, there's about 960 million or so registered LinkedIn individuals. If you break it down, there's only 36,000 newsletters. And then if you break that down to audio events and separate that and then move to live streams, I've been doing this every day for a year. I've seen everybody who I can see through anybody I know who's doing live streams. I can't tell you 50 of them. If you said name them, and let's say there's 1,000 of them, it's on your side. Plus, you get to develop your own community. You can share.
And I think community is key. I think community is key.
It'll follow you, right, Rhonda?
Community is key. And, the other thing too is I love when you see positive things, right? Especially posts. And I had something very cool happen to me not too long ago. So this is the phone I use, and I always have it with me, but you can see it's like a little wallet phone. And for years, I always keep $100 bill in there. And don't laugh, but it's because, when I get my nails done, they always like cash. So I always keep that $100. I pay for my nails and then I replace it. Well, I bought a new one because it wears out. And what happened was within about 2 or 3 days of getting it, it broke, it tore. So I emptied out all my stuff and I sent it back to Amazon and ordered another one. And I realized a few days later that the $100 bill that I literally hide in that wallet wasn't there. And I thought, Okay, well, I guess whoever finds it when they open up my return from Amazon needs it more than I do. I hope it blesses them. And I just thought, okay, that $100 is gone. Well, 2 weeks later, I swear to you, in the mail, my husband comes to me and he goes, "Hey, you got something from Amazon?" I said, "I didn't order anything." And I opened it up, and it's a letter from Amazon that said, "Dear valued customer, we'd like to return the things that our customers send to us by mistake." They sent me back my $100 bill with a letter. And I was like, that's incredible. What were the chances of Amazon sending me back that $100? So what I did was I took a picture of the letter, the $100 bill, and I posted it on LinkedIn. And I said, customer service is everything. And and I tagged Amazon. I said, and I just have to acknowledge that, you know what? I have faith in, customer service and companies like that. It made my entire day that somebody returned the $100 bill, So, and I got so many people that commented and told me their stories about things like that. So it's just about being, positive. But the next step is you look at who looked at those you look at who commented, right? Who liked it, and you reach out to them and you just say, "Hey, let's have a call." Or you share a resource and you might say, I don't know if you've ever heard of the Hour of Empower, but you might want to check this out. If you're up at 8 a.m. or 11 on the East Coast, check this out. He has great guests. And the ripple effect starts to happen. So, take things from your ordinary life that you can put into a positive spin, make it somewhat business, and share it. It's amazing what happens.
Well, they say caring is sharing, and
For
what's
sure.
good is good for people like you, right? And you are an advocate for yourself, but also for your community, right? So the first person to check some out, here's the thing. People don't post because they don't think they have anything creative or thoughtful or important to say. And maybe they're right for that day, but somebody they know did something. Why not that day share somebody else's instead of going without any post, without any top of mind awareness or visibility? But let me go back to the audience. Debbie's here. Debbie's the greatest. She's our butterfly lady. She spends so much time helping the monarch butterfly migration to Mexico, and she's going down there again this year. She does so many wonderful things, and she uses butterflies to teach kids. And she's been on the show many times. I reached out yesterday. Once she moves back to Florida, she splits her time between Green Bay and Florida. She'll be back. Christine says, "I need LinkedIn to hold me accountable to lose weight." It's always something, Christine. It's your brand down that hat. Great, Minerva. Minerva was on the show the other day. Wonderful legislator from Quebec, from Ontario. Does so many important things. Agree. If you don't ask, the answer is more likely to be no. Keep yourself and others in the know, not in the know. Christine comes back with, "I raised money and ran the 13.1 miles for a close friend with Crohn's. I was happy to do both." Good for you, Christine. Beverly says, "Awesome advice, Rhonda Sher. I have to get out of my comfort zone. I can ask for other people very easily, but asking for myself, like vote for me, I'd really have to take a deep, deep breath." Dennis says, "Agree, context is more important than contest." So true. Minerva comes back, "Giving a reason enables a response." Tanya says, "Transactional versus relational." So true. Customer service and experience is everything. They say a good price lasts about a minute in your mind, but quality service or a wonderful experience, and most people want to make it more than a transaction. They want to make it an experience. They want to make it worthwhile beyond just what you did, but the feeling you took with it.
It's so true. And, I think the other thing too that people forget to ask for are referrals. I mean, how many of us have raving fans, right? People that just say, "Dawn, that was amazing. Thank you so much." I have clients that come to me and say, "Rhonda, that was incredible. After you redid my profile, I got 3 new clients," right? Well, if you don't say anything after that, it dies. But what if after somebody says you did a great job, Tanya or Beverly, and you say to them, "You know what? It would mean the world to me if you would just do a short little video talking about the benefits you had from working with me." Now, here's the thing. I want people to know who you are. So make sure when you do that video, let them know who you are and what you do, because it isn't really about me. It's just that what somebody else says about you is going to be 1,000 times more powerful, right? So we have to remember that it's okay when somebody offers you a compliment to ask them to put it in writing or on video so that you can actually promote it, and we ask for their permission. And the best place to put that is in the featured section of your LinkedIn profile. Because when we buy anything, I don't care whether it's, you're going to a new dentist or, whatever it is, what do? We go read the Yelp reviews, we read the Google reviews, we do all of that. So it's really important that we ask. And I know for a lot of professionals, they're like the best of the best, and they don't even have Google reviews. And yesterday, I had a really interesting experience. I went to an allergy doctor. I've always been the person who is with hay fever and whatever. So I got referred to an allergy doctor. And Dawn, I've never had such a positive experience. Okay, this doctor took so much time with me and said something that was just amazing to me. She said, xylitol is something you can put in your little Navage, and it actually will help to, keep all the germs away. And I'm like, xylitol? She goes, yeah, you get it for like $7 on Amazon. And I was like, okay, here's a doctor that's trying to tell me something that no doctor has ever said. Took all this time. And at the end, I said to her, you're amazing. I said, I've never had a doctor that's taken so much time. I've been to 3 other people for this same issue, and nobody has suggested what you've suggested. I said, would it be okay if I gave you a 5-star Google review? Well, you would have thought I handed this woman a Black American Express card. She's like, oh my God, that would be amazing. Like, she's the head of the department. And I wanted to find some way to let her know that she made a difference for me. So I'm, today, the first thing I'm doing after I get off this call is I'm writing a 5-star Google review for this doctor. And imagine if we did that for people every day, right? And the people that do it for us, we ask them for a testimonial or a recommendation. Then whenever somebody's considering working with us, or they're considering recommending us or referring us, all they need to do is look at what other people say, because it's 1,000 times more powerful than what I say about myself, right? And that's why LinkedIn recommendations are so important. And the whole profile is important, because here's something interesting. Go out and Google yourself, right? If you're on LinkedIn, there's a 70% chance that your profile is going to show up on the first page of Google. And people are 2 times more likely to believe what they see on LinkedIn. So what are they seeing when they go there? Are they seeing the expert that you are? Or are they seeing somebody that's in the LinkedIn Witness Protection Program? Because if you're making connections, you're doing all this cool stuff, you're going to get checked out. So make sure you show up dressed for the party. I often say, when you see profiles of people that are superstars and their profiles look like they're looking for a job, it's like they're going to a black tie event, but they're wearing their running clothes. They're just not dressed for the party.
Well, and I think what you can relate to is the synergies, because I actually looked at myself on Google, and I've got a very popular name. And before getting on LinkedIn, I think, and I had a great business career and was in the news a lot. I was like on page 10. If you Google Don Cohen or Donald Cohen, I'm number 1 coming up now. And it actually, when you hit it, goes right to my LinkedIn profile. So now anybody who wanted to know me now sees me up at the top and then can go right to me. And, I change my profile 5-6 times a day. I really do. I mean, it might be a question mark I put in there. I might be a new emoji. I'm always refining it to relate to where I am in what I'm doing and where I'm going, right? And then actually I duplicate it in the background. And then I put it in every post, so repetition makes reputation after a while, and being known before you're needed has a lot of benefit. And you never know when and how, because they say you can't sell somebody who hasn't already expressed something they need in advance, right? If you say I need tires, I can maybe point you somewhere, but I can't just go up to you and say I got a great set of tires for you. And if you're dealing with enough and enough activity is coming to you, you can be the chooser. You don't have to sell your time to anybody who can pay for it. You don't have, it has to be positive every step of the way, because with 970 million, you don't have to wait on anybody. You don't have to, and if you do enough, a rejection means nothing. It gets carried away in the activity. Go
I
ahead.
agree 1,000%. You're so right. And one of the things you said, which I think is really interesting, is that every day you kind of tweak your profile a little bit, right? But imagine the one thing that you're doing is you're starting out with a solid profile. And that's really what you need, right? It doesn't, if I said I wanted to go to Las Vegas, I could get there in a beat up old Toyota Camry or a Mercedes. And the truth is, it wouldn't matter. I'm still going to get there. But if I'm getting there in, even if I just say a middle of the road, right? Maybe it's just a nice Hyundai, it's going to make all the difference, because when people look, they make very quick decisions. And I'll never forget this story. A really good friend of mine decided one day he was going to go out and buy a BMW. And he was a very successful banker. Came home from work, put on his running clothes, took his wife's mommy mobile, drove over to the nearest Manhattan, it was in Manhattan Beach at the time, to the dealership there, and was walking around the lot. And nobody would come up to him and say, "Can I help you?" Why? Because they saw when he drove up in, they saw him in his running clothes, and they made an instant decision that he wasn't a qualified buyer. So he left, and he drove to another dealership in LA, and he drove home with an $80,000 BMW. And they waited on him immediately. So the next day, he went back to that dealership in Manhattan Beach in his suit, in his $80,000 new Beamer. And he said, "I'd like to speak to the manager." He said, "I just want to let you know I was on your lot for about 20 minutes last night, walked around. Now, I wasn't dressed like this, and I wasn't driving that car, and nobody came up to me." He said, "I would really suggest you might not judge a book by its cover, because I left and went to your competitor and bought the car that you're looking at. And I was dressed exactly the same way that I was here in my running clothes, and I was driving my other car." So when we think about LinkedIn, though, people do the same thing. We look at the profile, and if we're confused about what somebody does, or it looks like they're looking for a job, or it has no banner, or it has a headshot with, somebody that looks like they cut off the other person and they're in a tuxedo, or worse yet, a bikini, right? We just go, okay, next. We've made a rash decision because we're visuals. So the first thing that you want to do is just make sure you're dressed for the party, right? It doesn't have to be a Mercedes. It just needs to make sure that it's clean and you filled out all the sections and it's current. That's the main thing. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, and I think everything is about respect, and being respectable, looking respectable, showing up as your best you, not as your default person, like, okay, I made it, I'm here. That's not enough, right? And if you want people to help you, you have to, it's not what you need or want, it's what you deserve that you usually get, right?
Absolutely.
And if you go to Rhonda or anybody and you tell a sincere, authentic story about where you are and how you think that person might be able to help you with a short call, everybody will give you that call. So how long does it take to craft that first 4 sentences that you're going to approach somebody with? Because if you're going to do it with a smile, and do it fast, and do it well. They say, I had a huge online business, and I had about 12 people on the phone doing customer service. And I used to tell everyone, first of all, this is our best sales tool. This is where we get to prove our promise is true, right? Everybody's a fair weather friend, but some breaks and you need to return it. And I said, whatever we're going to do it fast and do it with a smile, right? Because if we're going to do it, there's no reason to tell somebody how we're doing them a favor, how they don't deserve it, but blah, 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 blah. and isn't it better to be that type of service person who just whatever you want? That's why I used to say, ask the customer, what is it going to take to make you happy?
That's a great question. I love that. People should really listen to that. What is it going to take to make you happy? Because one of the things that I've learned is people buy based on what they want, not what they need. Right? I mean, that's really how people buy. They don't buy because they need something. They buy it because they want. That's why every time you walk into a store and you see on the left all the candy, we don't need that candy. Trust me, it's just going to make the dentist a lot of money. We don't need all of those magazines, right? But we want them. And the stores are smart enough to know that we buy based on want. So when you craft your LinkedIn profile, you want to craft it from the standpoint of talking to your audience. What do they want and what do you provide for them? And the most important thing is the third-party proof, right? Can you give a testimonial? Can you talk about, the results that you get? And I think one of the things that people are a little bit leery about is going narrow and deep as opposed to wide, because a confused mind makes no decisions. So why not test it? I love what you said. You tweak your profile every now and then. Test it with a certain market and see if it works. Put a strategy together, give it 90 days. And what you'll find is that it actually does work. I always say the smaller the niche, the more you get rich, right? But you always have to come, as Bob Berg said so beautifully, with the giver's gain mindset. How can I serve? And if you come from that first, how can I serve? You can't lose. You absolutely can't lose. And I think the other thing too is don't be afraid to ask. I'm launching a new boot camp and I can't do it all myself, right? I want to help a lot of people. So I went to my community and I said, hey, I need your help. I even called you. I said, hey, I need your help. I want to help a lot more people really improve their LinkedIn. I've got this boot camp and I'm doing an affiliate program. I'd love it if you'd share it with your list. I'd be happy to give you a percentage, and what most people said was, you know what, Rhonda, I'm happy to help. I don't even want the percentage. And, to me, I do the same for them, right? Because our most valuable possession is our list. And if you believe in somebody, you're going to want to promote them. You're going to want to refer them. And that's my favorite thing to do all day long, is just tell people about a cool new resource that I learned about. Right?
Well, and I think, that's the ultimate compliment, is to be a super connector. To if you believe and you're confident, you're doing somebody a disservice when you don't share something valuable and important to them. Right? If I didn't know
100%.
And I didn't know how qualified and experienced and successful she is. First of all, I wouldn't have her on the show, and I'm so blessed to have her today. But also, I've talked about this so many times, is motivation without best practice, without actualization, right? Some people aren't motivated. Some people don't know what they're doing, and some people don't know where they want to go or what they want to get. But once you're at a point where you're driven for a reason, they say if your why is big enough, you'll figure out the how to. And I think by getting with experts, and not because of what they know, but what they can allow you to learn for yourself, because I think that earlier thought on profile, right, is being able to be relevant and authentic and real. And even what we talked about today with the post is, if you had an exciting adventure that is something that can empower or motivate people. Nobody wants to hear the tragedy. They want to hear the tragedy to triumph story. I got hit by a bus 4 years later. I'm in the Olympics. Let me tell you how I moved from there to there. Because anybody can say, well, I got hit by 2 buses, and pretty soon you're competing for tragedy instead of triumph. But what I would say is, what took me 4 years, I could probably teach in a lot less time with a lot less trouble. What Rhonda's been so focused on is really being able to filter what really works. Because what really works is what really makes sense in your own mind that you're aligned with, right? If you only knew, here's one other strategy. LinkedIn has polls. Sometimes you can be as defined as you, I say, one of my polls I run at least once a week is, would you like to be on Hour of Empower? Right? That way everybody says yes. It's like, hey, thanks for taking the poll. If you're still interested, let's have a call. Or you could have a poll that says, how many connections you have. And I'll get like a ton of responses, but that would drive attention to my post. So there's a strategic reason you go thin or you go thick. I agree with Rhonda. Niches are riches. If you just focus on one thing, even when people create content calendars, it's usually based on one or two pillars, right? This is all
very true, very true. And you can have so much fun with polls. One of the polls that I got the biggest response to was, I'm one of these people that I actually feel cheated when they do daylight savings time. I don't like it when they take my hour. I don't like it when they give me back my hour, right? It's like, don't mess with the clock. So I did a post. And I couldn't believe the number of people that actually, had a very strong opinion about it. Now, did it have anything to do with my business? No, but I bet there are other people that feel the same way. It's kind of like, well, why are we doing this? Why are we turning? Now, here we are again. We're getting ready to turn the clocks again, right? And I understand the reason behind it, because when kids were walking to school, it was dark. And so they wanted to make it lighter in the morning. That's a safety thing. But, it's changed a little bit. So, but again, polls are awesome. You can use them to gauge interest, or even to, what if you're going to launch a course, or you're going to launch something? You can actually say, would you be willing to pay X? And, your audience is going to tell you. So polls, and again, they only work once you start engaging with other people's posts. But polls are awesome, and people like them. They're fun, and guess what? If you're doing the poll, you're the only one that gets to see who voted which way. So then you can reach out to those people, just like you did. You said, hey, Rhonda, thanks for voting in my poll. You said you're interested in learning more about the Empower Hour. Let's have a conversation. So it gives you the opportunity to practice the F word, follow up, which I love.
Well, and especially since it's based on gratitude, because thank you for visiting my profile. Thank you for taking the time to do my poll. It's all thank you first, right? And now they did something, you responded in appreciation. And based on this, if you're still interested, I'd love to share more about it. With that said, let me finish the comments. Rhonda has her boot camp coming up really quickly. I would suggest Rhonda puts a LinkedIn comments, so anybody can either go to my post or my profile. It'll be in those comments too. So if Rhonda wants a comment on my post, it'll show up there. And if you want to put it in here, that's great too. In the meantime, let me cover Minerva. Customer service drives business growth when policies of trust and transparency is adhered to. Debbie comes back with referrals plus recommendations. Brilliant. Thanks for the prompt. Christine says, going to add one of my recommendations to my feature section ASAP. Good for you. Fast action makes a difference. Minerva says, giving feedback for service or interactions in public is building better skills or bona fide business. Then, ask yourself how you're going to stretch your activity muscles. I love to have a calendar of what I'm doing today, right? How many outreach messages am I going to share? How am I going to reward the people who are supporting me? You can't take anything for granted. And sometimes, people go on to other situations when they got plenty to do with where they're at, right? It's how you nurture, how you fortify. I'll go to Dennis real quick. Lots of guys buy BMW for the women. We think it means be my woman, and it often keeps her. I don't know about that, Dennis. I'm wondering about you. Beverly says, so sorry, I have to leave the valley. Thank you, Beverly. She's such a wonderful lady. All the boots sleeping under the stars for boot camp. You're so quick. With that, we're right at top of hour. This has been so valuable for me because to be honest, it's hard to find people that know what you're talking about easily, right? There's a few people need a little help or whatever, but Rhonda really's got it going. And, I can't say enough about who she is, what she does, and give yourself a chance to get to know her, right? So check out her.
Yeah, reach out for sure. And I can't get into the chat, but it's I'll put it in afterwards, but it's perfect, like the word perfect, your profile.com. That's all it is. It's just perfectyourprofile.com. And it goes November 6th through 10th, 5 days, 5 hours.
Okay. So what was your impression of the show today?
Super fun. Love the comments, love the people that came in, and love the way you run it. You're so open and sharing, and you just come from a place of gratitude, and that's why people are following you and engaging with you and getting people like Bob Berg and these amazing folks. I'm blown away.
Well, you're just like every one of those amazing folks too. So I put you right in that a class of those experts and wonderful people. So again, thank you, audience. Come back tomorrow. And tomorrow, let me tell you who's going to be here. Oh, it's Jeffrey Lackey will be here tomorrow, and he's doing some really great things. He's got 2 real popular podcasts and radio shows. So with that said, thank you again, Rhonda. Everybody have a safe, quality day, and we'll hit it in 23 hours. Bye for now.